not know who. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 609, recorded on Wednesday, March 8th, 2017. Happy International Women's Day. I am Dr. Kiki, and tonight on TWIS, we will fill your heads with less sex, panda colors, and troubling sinks. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The following hour of programming would not be possible without women. Not only is it created, owned, produced, and managed by a woman, but 2 of the 3 hosts are women. And the one male host on the show was raised by, you guessed it, a woman. More than one, in fact. And while women are being recognized for all the wonderful things they do this Women's Day, I'd like to take a quick moment to speak on behalf of all men. We get it. Some of us are the worst people ever. And those of us that intend to get it right often don't. But please, don't give up on us. We don't always understand. We don't always make the effort to understand. But don't give up. Don't give up. And please don't be patient with us either. Patience was tried valiantly in the past. It doesn't work. Your patience is always viewed by us as acceptance. Do not accept the status quo. Do not suffer fools. And make all mankind better by your being heard. Right here on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And good science to you, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science on International Women's Day, the day that Blair and I are supposed to be on strike. But, you know, I did some thinking about it, and I thought, I've been running this podcast for a really long time. I really enjoy it. And it helps people, right? We're bringing science to people. Not only that, it's part of my entrepreneurial efforts, right? So female business owner who talks about science to lots of people on the internet. I'm here to represent.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm doing. I hope, Blair, you're here to represent too.
And the 2 of you you'd be walking out on an underling. I mean, I don't think it has the same impact when like the boss doesn't show up to work. You know, like,
I am the boss.
Oh yeah, no, I knew she was important. That's the one that hired me to work here. Like that's, you know, I think the business owners all get a pass. I think is what happened in this day.
Yeah, but I think, I tick several buttons off, little check boxes. Female scientist, communicating, educating, business owner.
Absolutely.
Hey, so I'm here for all women and all people.
Yeah, you've come a long way. Don't go home early.
I'm not going home early. We are here to talk about science. Yes, we have a great show today. Lots of science ahead. I brought stories tonight on research done by women. So there we go. That's what I'm really working on. From Neanderthals to bones to DNA storage to sex. Women worked on all the science I'm going to be bringing to the show tonight. So what did you bring, Justin?
Oh my gosh. What do I have? I have molecular leaves. fishy forefathers, and creating a time crystal.
Ooh, time crystal. Is that like Time Bandits? Or
Oh, that's a great movie.
I love that movie. No, okay.
Maybe it'll lead to that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later. Blair, what is in the animal corner?
Oh, I brought some panda news. I brought a little bit about elephants using new technology, and I brought some nightmare juice.
I can always count on you for that. Yay. Yay. The crowd cheers.
Yay.
All right, you guys, let's dive in. We got some fun stuff. So first off, I wanted to share some research published by Elsevier out of Europe, looking at the research publication rate, looking at differences between men and women in publications and in citations of those publications. I figured, hey, this is a science show. It's Women's Day. Let's talk about this study, which was released today by Elsevier. They looked at female researchers and male researchers from the time periods of 1996 to 2000 and 2011 to 2015 between 12 different countries. So what they found is that across everything, female scholarly articles are cited and or downloaded at similar rates to the articles published by men. But women tend to publish fewer articles than men on average. So even though women are catching up and publishing research that is making an impact, they're not publishing as much impactful research. Specifically here in the United States, let's see, general trends. Let's see, specifically here in the United States, we find from 2011 to 2015, women's research tended to be downloaded and cited slightly higher rates than men. Generally, for all the countries and regions, they found that women are generally less internationally mobile than men and are less likely to collaborate internationally on research papers. There are lots of things you could speculate about here, but that is one interesting finding. Health and life sciences fields of research have the highest representation of women, while physical sciences are still dominated by men, and women are slightly less likely than men to collaborate across academic and corporate sectors on research articles. So that kind of interdisciplinary collaboration is not really happening for women as much as it is for men. Between 1996 and the year 2000, these countries that were studied, only one country had a female researcher population that was higher than 40%. Can you guess? Just think of a country and go, yeah, it's forward thinking.
I'm going Scandinavian.
Okay, it's a very good guess.
Or Iran.
Portugal.
Portugal
was the only country out of the 12 that were studied that had a female researcher population higher than 40%. However, by the period 2011 to 2015, 9 countries out of the 12 had reached that 40% mark and possibly gone over it. And these are Australia, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, European Union, France, Portugal stayed up there, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So there are positive gains being made. The remaining countries that have less than 40% female researchers are Chile, Mexico, and Japan. So very interesting finding. We can't really talk much about what is keeping the collaboration, holding women back from collaborating and publishing more, but gains are being made.
That's fantastic. Way to go, ladies.
Way to go, ladies, right? And what researchers think is that the pipelines are being filled more. And so activities that are driving STEM engagement for women and girls globally are starting to have an effect. And so continuing those efforts are hopefully going to continue to right the disparity in the STEM industries.
Yeah. It's sort of like what happened with Title IX, right? You started forcing schools to give athletic programs to girls, and all of a sudden now they're taking home more gold in the Olympics, whereas at the time Title IX was instituted, women weren't really that in the Olympics. You didn't really see a lot of it. So these things do take time, and so the wave is out there. It's moving through. It's moving through the population. More and more young women are applying themselves to the sciences and given access to it. So brilliant.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I was reading recently the National Center for Science Education. We've had someone from there on our show before, that they've done a lot of research on how children in classrooms, how they picture a science, they have the kids draw, right? And so usually it's a old man in a white lab coat, right? But they have seen a change, especially after they bring scientists into classrooms to speak with children, that then the pictures become a lot more diverse. There are men and women. The lab coats suddenly start to disappear. So there becomes, the more we tell our kids, the more they're able to see themselves in other roles that before maybe they would have seen close to them. So this is really exciting.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is very exciting. Good news on this International Women's Day. And thank goodness for the women entering the research funnel. If it were not for the next couple of female researchers, we might not have the results that I'm about to let you know about. Neanderthals. We love a good Neanderthal story, right? Thank goodness Neanderthals didn't floss.
Right.
Really, truly.
Yeah.
So they had hunks of food in there, so we knew what they were eating. So
Yeah, so not just
pretty much.
hunks of food,
The
but
plaque.
little tiny pieces of food stuck in the plaque, and little tiny molecular bits that just kind of get in there. And we brush our teeth. Maybe you've got a Sonicare, or you floss your teeth and you get rid of that material. And the material actually can trap food in it, and then the calcification is something that preserves the food, and we have found can be molecularly investigated. And so paleomicrobiologist Laura Weyrich at the University of Adelaide in Australia looked at this material to get an idea of my, I guess, distant relatives, ancestors' diets. And she looked at, and her team looked at teeth and jaw fossils from Spy Cave in Belgium and the El Cedron cave in Spain and a cave in Italy known as Breuil Grotta. So these are all Neanderthal finds for sure, and very interesting results. Basically, they found bits of food in the plaque, bits of DNA that could be identified to organisms that were eaten. And what was eaten differed based on the region that the fossils were found in. So Neanderthals who lived in Spy Cave in Belgium, they found DNA that was similar to modern rhinoceros and sheep. And so from that, they've deduced that they must have eaten woolly rhinoceros and a type of wild sheep called a mouflon that were in that area around 36,000 years ago when those Neanderthals were there.
The woolly rhino of Belgium.
The woolly rhino.
And what did you call the other one? A mouflon?
A mouflon.
That is going to be my firstborn's name, I think.
Hey, little mouflon. My little
Mouflon Bazdarich.
That's right. And they also found DNA in those Belgian Neanderthal teeth that was similar to a mushroom we now have called Coprinopsis cinerea, which is a gray shag mushroom that is known to be edible. This is,
Shag mushroom.
Gray shag mushroom, yes. Now, the difference to the Spanish cave is large. So they found that this cave, the Neanderthals have been dated to about 10,000 years earlier, 48,000 years ago, as opposed to 38,000 years ago. They didn't find any large animal DNA. What they found were lots of nuts and moss and more edible mushrooms. And then this also comes along with evidence that suggests that these Spanish Neanderthals may have been eating particular types of food for medicinal purposes. So they found some evidence in there's a different finding.
One of the drawbacks, right, of why we have this research.
Right.
One of the drawbacks of not having brushed your teeth.
Yeah,
it's allowing us the insight.
I know.
Also,
it wouldn't help in the future. They would never know what we were eating, right? From our teeth. So in 2012, researchers did a dental plaque analysis from these El Cedron Neanderthals, and they found evidence of bitter plants, that these Neanderthals had been eating very bitter things. And so they floated this hypothesis that it was maybe for appetite suppression or some other medicinal use. And Weyrich's team found traces of poplar, which actually has salicylic acid in it, better known as aspirin. So,
and the individual who they found this in, I think the only individual they found it on.
You got to check the rest of the bones to find out what kind of arthritis they were dealing with.
No, they had dental abscesses. That's like, this is also like why we know this is because they had really bad dental hygiene,
bad teeth,
and because of that, they had to seek out medicine to compensate for the pain.
Yeah, and another bit of DNA they found was for penicillium bacterium. So penicillin very well as an antibiotic, and so maybe aspirin and this bacteria, which they might have found moldy food, right? Oh, I'll eat the moldy food. It gets rid of my dental abscess. We don't know for sure if that's what they were doing, but the evidence is mounting up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's only in the individual, which they could tell had intestinal parasites and this visible dental abscess on the jawline, was the one who was eating the poplar and the penicillin mold. Like, it wasn't present in the other ones. It was only in the one that was really sick, which does indicate like that was a concerted effort to do some sort of, healing. And we go, oh, how could they know about medicine? Well, they had 500,000 years of eating moldy foods and plants to figure this stuff out. We haven't even nearly had as long. And granted, we have all of medicine.
Yeah. So, I mean, we think of people like Neanderthal. We think of, I say a people, but a people like the Neanderthals or early hominids as very basic, we don't even know if Neanderthals had language, right? We've been arguing about that, but it seems that they were around for a very long time and probably had this ability, had discovered things about foods in their environment, and maybe these El Cedron Neanderthals were way ahead of the Belgian ones, right?
But you'd have to find a severely ill one from Belgium to see if they were applying medicine, because this one, based on the plaque, they could tell it had this parasite that caused diarrhea, and it also has this abscess, and this is where we see things that could potentially be medically helpful to that individual in the plaque. We'd have to find another sick Neanderthal somewhere and see if those same medicines in a different region were being applied. How long have Neanderthals been doing this? How spread was this knowledge?
Yeah, and one thing that people have been passing around about this story also is this evidence from these Neanderthal teeth kind of flies in the face of the paleo diet. Goes to show that the individuals, Neanderthals in this particular case, that were alive during this late part of the Paleolithic era, had a very varied diet.
Mhm.
Lots of protein, but also lots of carbs. So
Yeah, trust no diets.
exactly.
What you need is paleo microflora, which we're working on.
I know.
We'll find it one day.
Oh, and trust no diets, except for this one that I'm really into, says Justin. And then my final intro story has to do with hospital sinks.
Ew.
Yeah. So do you guys know what a P-trap is?
Nope.
Yes, that's the little bit under your sink that goes down and then back up again, which you would think is very inefficient for getting wastewater out of your sink, but it creates a plug basically so that air can't come from the sewer and back out up your sink.
Exactly. Yes. So it's a water plug so that you don't smell the sewer in your bathroom. It's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. So researchers thought, P-trap, there's just water sitting in there.
Mhm.
That little U-shaped part of the drain, that has a bunch of water in it, right? What a moist, yummy environment for bacteria to grow.
Mhm.
And they were thinking specifically of hospitals where, individuals come in with terrible infections and then doctors dump things down the sinks and they wash their hands and
Mhm.
what is potentially happening to those bacteria? Are they capable of setting up a population there in the drain and climbing back out?
No.
Yeah, I thought Blair was gonna bring the nightmare juice.
I don't like it.
Well, the answer is, yeah, they can climb right back out. So researchers set up a fake sink situation. They had 5 sinks and they were separated by plexiglass. The first sink they inoculated with E. coli bacteria down in the drain. And then they waited a little bit and they checked to see how far it spread, especially if they used water splashing, like if you were washing your hands or dumping down the sink, there's water that splashes back out. And so they set up a bunch of petri dishes around the sink to try and figure out whether this E. coli was making it back out the sink. And this E. coli had been specially modified for to glow green under UV light. So it's fluorescent bacteria, so they could just pass a black light over these petri dishes after a couple of days to figure out whether or not the E. coli had set up shop. And lo and behold, ta-da, yes, they had. E. coli easily spread from the first to at least the third sink with a very moderate inoculation of bacteria, and with a very heavy inoculation of bacteria in that sink, it made it all the way down the row. So even with the plexiglass in between, the E. coli was spreading through the sinks, climbed out of the P-trap using a biofilm. And so we've talked about biofilms before, which is like basically the bacteria all joining together and making a happy coating on surfaces. And
happy.
yeah, and the biofilm actually protects individuals within that population. And so the biofilm is able to creep up the drain.
So
get out.
What are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
What can we make that is not a P-trap?
The E. coli is coming from in the house.
Ugh. Yeah, how can we fix this, especially in hospitals?
Yeah, and so that is the big question. They don't know necessarily what the best methodology will be to fix this. I'm assuming bleach.
Or just run the water for an extra minute after you've washed your hands.
Exactly, running the water, not dumping things so that they splash into the sink, as if there is something already populating your drain, it could allow it to spread out.
What about
so anyway,
close the sink in between so that you didn't need like an airtight closure, but then I suppose E. coli could live on that too, probably.
Yes. Yeah. So the question is, does the design need to change? Is there something design-wise that should change, or is there something procedural that needs to change to ensure that superbug infections don't get spread from the sinks that are supposed to help us clean them?
Ooh, I know. Antibacterial coating on the inside of the pipes, right? So the
biofilm can't grow, right?
the
Copper
pokey
piping.
surface, like on the insect wings that we talked about, the super pokey surfaces.
Right.
The surface itself is antibacterial, so it's not chemically treated.
But you could
Just make the inside of pipes like that.
we could just make them copper.
Idea. Or silver.
Copper
silver.
piping.
Any of those.
Copper.
Silver.
We already
I
use
know
copper. We already use copper piping.
No, we don't. No, we use plastic
Oh, we use
piping.
plastic now.
Pretty much everywhere now. Yeah.
Copper.
Which is unsanitizable to an extent.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if you just had the P trap further away.
Oh, then
Like,
it's just
not
a matter
right
of
under the
time.
sink.
It's just
Just
a
a
matter of time. It's coming
Listen
for
to
you.
Yeah, but this study was led by a researcher. I love her title. She's a molecular epidemiologist. I think that just sounds so neat.
Mhm.
Studying epidemics at the molecular level. Amy Mathers, you've got a great job. Good work. This is a great story. Hot Rod in the chat room says double P trap.
That sounds like double the E. coli, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm done with my intro stories. This is This Week in Science. Justin, what you got?
An international team of scientists have created a molecular leaf. What? Chemists engineered a molecule that uses light, electricity to convert the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide, a carbon neutral fuel source, more efficiently than any other method of carbon reduction. This is led by Liang-Shi Li at Indiana University, supported in the Journal of the American Chemistry Society. So if you create, this is Cody Voice, if you create an efficient enough molecule for this reaction, it will produce energy that is free and storable in the form of fuels, Li said. Study is a major leap in that direction. So they had been before working on solar panels using this sort of graphene, working with graphites and carbon sort of based materials to collect solar energy and then send it somewhere so it could be stored. Kind of started trying to figure out a way to get rid of the middleman. So creating something that could actually just drive the reaction of creating a fuel source right there in the panel. And that's kind of where they're at. It's in a liquid form. So they haven't done this to where they can, put it on anything outside yet. They're working with some cheap materials. The main material is the same thing in pencil lead. Some of the other materials are a little harder to get their hands on. But basically what they're doing is creating energy from the sun, releasing the solar power. The big breakthrough here is his method. This molecule is being able to be absorbing a larger array of sunlight to do this reaction. Previously, they've only been able to do it with a very tiny sliver of infrared unseen light. Now they've got it over a much larger spectrum. So it's becoming more and more efficient. Basically, it's a two-part system. They have a nanographene, which is an energy collector that absorbs energy from sunlight, and an atomic rhenium, which is the engine that produces carbon monoxide. The energy collector drives a flow of electrons to the rhenium atom, which repeatedly binds and converts the normally stable carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide. So both creating a fuel and sort of cleaning the air like a leaf would do.
And not necessarily, and because it's converting it from the carbon dioxide to carbon monoxide, it's a more usable form.
It's a usable form of energy, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, anything that we're able, at any point, if we're able to take CO2 emissions and make them into usable products, usable fuel, usable things to be able to I mean, there's so much CO2 coming out of so many industrial processes, coming out of energy production processes. And if we can manage that and use the sunlight, use sun to make it happen.
And the idea, I think, extended out is, I mean, you could, of course, anything that's being done in the lab right now along this line, you could simply plant a tree and it would be a better carbon sink and you might be able to get more energy out of the tree. But we're talking about something that you could essentially eventually do that painting onto a building. So the building itself is acting like a leaf along all of its surfaces and creating its own energy to power the building and the lights within. So
yeah,
more steps in that direction, free off-grid energy.
Yeah, but the big thing that we always have to think about when it comes to materials like this is, okay, that's awesome, but how easy is it going to be to actually manufacture? And how easy is it going to be able to take it out of the lab and actually make it at a quantity that's big enough to really be usable?
Right. And when you were born, computers took up warehouses and
totally.
They didn't do anything near what you can put in your pocket. So, I mean, this is still that stage. This is still the warehouse computer. And they're saying someday you'll be able to have one of these 10,000 times more powerful and it'll fit in your family garage, which, we might even be able to do better. So we'll see.
Yeah. Very cool. Is it that time?
What time is it?
It's time for Blair's Animal Corner.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. That
What you got, Blair?
I have pandas.
Why on earth would you have pandas?
Oh, great question. So, interesting question was posed by University of British Columbia. Nope, by University of California, Davis, and California State University, Long Beach. Sorry.
Oh.
The next one is by University of British Columbia. I got confused. So this story, UC Davis and CSU Long Beach, they were looking at the patterns of pandas, which are actually quite unusual. And I never really stopped to think about it, but it's true. There aren't really other animals out there with color blocking like pandas have.
Well, I mean, you could talk about like our cats and our dogs.
Yes.
That
Raccoon?
raccoon.
Red panda?
Really. So this is stark differences between the two colors, black and white, and they are in these giant segments on their body. So these researchers, a team of 5 scientists, 3 of them women, looked at the potential camouflage structure of a panda. Why on earth would you want giant sections of your body to be both black and then other areas to be white? Usually when you have an animal that is trying to disrupt their body shape, they are striped or spotted or camouflage colored, or they're somehow splotchy. This is not something that we normally see. So what these researchers did was they assembled a team to assess the panda's coloration bit by bit. So they actually compared different regions of panda fur to 195 other carnivore species and 39 bear subspecies. The 39 bear subspecies obviously related to the giant panda. Then they tried to match the darkness of the regions on their body to ecological and behavioral variables to determine their function. That's a very fancy way of saying that by comparing them to other animals, they were able to find out, okay, the white parts help them blend in with snow, and the black parts help them hide in the shade. So
But-
Go ahead.
But then if they're like in the forest,
Yeah.
they're not all shaded with the
Yeah.
background, so they're going to be standing out partially and hiding partially.
Yeah, so they're kind of halfway in it in both situations. The problem is the panda, as a flawed bear, which I'll explain more about in a moment, means that they have to withstand polar opposites of conditions, and they are not equipped to change their habits or their appearance. So for example, let's look at the Arctic fox, right? They spend part of the year white. They spend part of the year gray. They do that by completely shedding fur and growing in a new coat. The panda, remember, has a flawed digestive system. So their digestive system is for meat, but they sit there and eat bamboo all day, which means that they can never get enough energy from their food because they just have an upset stomach and they're not processing their food correctly all the time, which is why they're just constantly eating bamboo. So they can't store enough fat. They can't store enough energy to change over their fur, and they can't store enough fat to do what other bears do when it gets snowy, which is go into torpor, go into winter sleep, aka hibernation, right? So they can't do that because they don't have enough fat stores to hibernate. So they have to be active year-round. They have to travel around trying to find bamboo, and that means that they are, during a year, spending time in snowy mountains and tropical forests. So they have to deal with these different territories. And so this comparative research suggests that these different blocks in their body help them in different habitats. Their head, however, is a completely different story, according to this research. They think that the head is actually used for communication. The dark ears are supposed to convey ferocity, a warning to predators. The dark eye patches are most likely to help them recognize each other because everyone's are slightly different. So this is preliminary research. Again, it's comparative research. This is what they've come up with. They scored thousands of images. They used about 10 areas per picture, 20 possible colors, and they used science. They used real science to do this comparison and collect data on what most likely these areas are used for. Now I think it's time to take this research into the wild and watch panda behavior and see their interactions with other animals to see if this is effective. I think that's really what we would need to see if this is actually what it's being used for. But it is a question that we haven't really seen answered before. It's pretty interesting.
So
Why does the panda look the way it does?
Yeah.
and
Why panda?
and it probably does also have some sort of ancestral roots to it as well. I mean, if you looked at it today, the alien anthropologist would be, the panda has configured itself to look adorable to humans and therefore is preserved in zoos everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
like you have to.
But there aren't any bear relatives that look like that. So it's hard for us to look at it and see a ancestral root.
No, I mean ancestral, like where its previous conditions had been, like what it was doing. Like I don't know what preys on pandas. I don't know how humans didn't kill them all off with like giant ground sloths.
I don't
and
know what
woolly
eats
rhinos.
pandas either. My understanding is nothing. But
Yeah. So what's there to hide from?
well, maybe they're just hiding really well, and that's why nothing eats them.
Well, that could be.
That's a question. I just pose questions.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's my panda. Now I want to talk about elephants using Fitbits.
Elephants using Fitbits. Are they getting their 10,000 steps a day?
Oh, you bet it. So recent research from the School of Anatomical Sciences at Wits University and University of California, Los Angeles, they went to Elephants Without Borders in Botswana, and they tried out a new research system using the technology in Fitbits to monitor elephant sleep. Which there's a couple things going on here. So let me unwrap this for you. So first of all, Fitbits can be altered to respond to elephant movements. So first, they watched elephants for a long time. They recorded trunk movement over a very long period of time. They recorded what their trunk was doing at different times, what it was like when an elephant went to sleep. And then they were able to, based on that, calibrate this Fitbit or something related to the Fitbit from the same company that makes Fitbits. And then they implanted this device into elephant trunks. They so far have done 2 matriarch elephants. And they found that if a trunk is still for about 5 minutes, the elephant is usually asleep. So just as Fitbit can record how much and how well you sleep, now this thing in the trunk can monitor elephant sleep.
And we found that elephants are super fidgety.
Yeah. So then the other side of this is that we want to know what's up with elephants so we can help preserve them, so we can learn more about them. We also just want to learn more about the nature of sleep. We've talked a lot on the show about different possible benefits of sleep and different types of sleep, REM sleep, saying that sleep helps us store memories, that sleep could help us heal, all these sorts of things. But we don't actually know for sure what sleep does, what kind of sleep is best, and how much sleep any specific species needs. All this information is still kind of a mystery to us, as much of research as we do on sleep, because it's obviously something we care a lot about, right?
I love my sleep.
Don't we all?
I
And
do.
so the expectation was that larger animals need more sleep because they need more energy, because they have bigger brains. All these things lead us to believe that perhaps larger animals need more sleep. And so that was kind of the basis of this, wanting to see how much sleep an elephant needs. Because at this point, we're not sure. Elephants in zoos, they have been recorded to sleep for around 4 hours a day, and they can sleep standing up or lying down. But this new research of these 2 matriarchal elephants shows us that they sleep about 2 hours a night in the wild. Can you imagine?
Why? Why do they need less sleep? Or is it just being in the wild?
Yes. So this comes back to something I've talked about a few times on the show. Guys, living in the wild is tough. That might sound like a silly thing to say. That might sound like an obvious thing to say. People think a lot of the time that animals would rather be free out in the wild. It's the greatest place in the world. Well, it's a struggle. Being an animal out in the wild is a constant struggle for survival. And so it looks like that's what this is about, especially if you're talking about matriarchs. They are the head of the group. They are trying to keep everyone safe. And so these guys, they sleep standing up, lying down about 2 hours a night, but lying down to sleep only happened every 3 or 4 days, and only for about an hour. And so that means they're only having REM sleep or dreaming sleep every 3 or 4 days. And so remember earlier I said recent studies have shown us that REM sleep is thought to be important for storing and consolidating memories and kind of sorting out unnecessary memories, kind of cleaning out your memory bank. But that can't be true because everyone knows elephants have really, really good long-term memory. So as far as the elephant goes, REM sleep can't be that important. What's more, they found that elephants were easily disturbed and awoken by things like predators, poachers, another elephant. They could go with no sleep for up to 48 hours. And sometimes when they got disturbed in the middle of sleep, they would walk up to 30 kilometers from where they heard the disturbance before going back to sleep. So there's so much going on here. Elephants don't need a lot of sleep. The REM sleep's not that important. They are easily awoken. And what's really interesting is that they didn't sleep when we would expect, when the sun goes down. They didn't wake up when the sun goes up. Their sleep patterns seemed unrelated to how much light there was out. So they just always slept kind of in the very early hours of the morning for a few hours. It was dark when they went to sleep. It was dark when they woke up. They were unaffected by those things that we thought had an intense impact on circadian rhythms about when to sleep and when to be awake. So again, this is a sample size of 2. So I want to remind us of that. Sample size of 2 matriarchs.
But we already know from zoos that they really don't sleep that much anyway. So it's this is additional interesting information. More study needed.
Lots of study needed, but this is cracking open a whole area of kind of studying sleep that it's ruining some theories and it's positing some new theories. There's a lot going on here to unpack just from this one study with 2 elephants. And this is also a really good use of new technology. I'm really fascinated to see that we can take something like the Fitbit that humans use, whether or not they actually help people get fit or lose weight or not. I just hear lots of people going, oh, gotta get my steps in. But we're using that technology that's been so successful to help learn about and potentially conserve species. So that's pretty cool.
I think it's very cool. Thanks for that story. Yeah. I love it. It's got everything. It's got sleep, elephants, brains, conservation, technology. It's got everything. It hits all the things. Checks all the buttons. That's right. All the boxes. Okay, everybody. I think it's time for us to take a very short break. So if you're interested, we've got more science coming in just a few minutes. We've got lots more DNA storage, time crystals. Oh my God, I can't wait for that one. This is going to be so much fun, you guys. So stay tuned. We will be back in a couple of moments with more This Week in Science.
Explain the things you heard with more than intuition. The line of reason show.
Hey everyone, I do hope you're enjoying the show so far, but while you're listening or while we're taking the break, why don't you head over to TWIS.org? We've got our show notes over there, so all the links to all the stories that we've been talking about will be at TWIS.org for this week's episode once the episode is up. Every episode, once it gets posted, the show notes are available at TWIS.org. So head on over there to read more about these wonderful stories. And we do have a link on our website that heads on over to Zazzle if you are interested in finding awesome TWIS gear. Do you want some cool TWIS gear? Then you need to go to twis.org and click on the Zazzle store link. Once you click there, it'll take you straight to the Zazzle store where we have hats and tops and pillows and mouse pads and all sorts of wonderful items, all from TWIS, the TWIS logo, or from Blair's wonderful calendars, the artwork that she has been producing for TWIS for the last couple of years. So once again, the Zazzle.com, the Zazzle store link that's at twis.org will take you right there. So you can get all sorts of neat TWIS items. Wear them with pride. Use a TWIS mouse pad with pride and support TWIS in the process. If you are interested in supporting us and keeping this show going another way, you can always do so on Patreon. We have a link on our twis.org page that's right up on the main header bar. And click right on it, takes you to our Patreon account. And over on Patreon, you can choose to support the show at various levels, and each of those levels has an associated reward. Just a little thing to say thank you for your help in producing the show. Thank you for making the show possible and supporting us. If Patreon isn't something that you're into, you can also click on our donate button that is just right on the main page. Support TWIS, make a donation, donate, click. It's It's a nice, easy PayPal interface. So you can use your PayPal account or a credit card, I believe, to donate. And it's just nice and easy. But, we know that not everyone has the money to be able to share with their favorite podcast. So if you're not able to help us out financially, we could use your help, really, truly, in spreading the word about TWIS. Tell people about TWIS. Get them listening. Get them watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook. We have so many great accounts and places where people can find us and enjoy the show and also be a part of the TWIS community, comment on stories, comment on the show, and interact with other listeners. There's so many great places to do that. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and twis.org. So share with your social media community, your work community, your family. Please share TWIS with people you think would really enjoy it. We could not do this show without you. Thank you so much for your support.
Believe you believe in that plan. We disagree, but I still give a damn. Your astral projections are coming along. Your chakra and chi both growing real strong. Your cold disappeared after just 9 short days, all thanks to the words on the whole earth displays. Now due to the juices and pills and the creams, your body's lost toxins, whatever that means. You've stopped eating all of that sinister food. Your dinner tastes awful, so it's gotta be good. And still, you can't believe what a skeptic I am. I can't believe you believe in that shell. We disagree, but I still give a damn. The ramification of treatments from holy men leaves me slightly queasy deep down in the abdomen. Convinced that the lives that they lead need adjusting, they drive to the bookstore and blindly start trusting the miracles and cures all laid down in black ink, never even bothering to stop and think.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
We are, and I want to thank Hot Rod, who's in the chat room, who is currently casting us on Periscope. Nice. Thanks for sharing TWIS on Periscope. That is fantastic. I've just found it, and that is wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Hey, Justin, you got some science stories?
So it is time to rethink evolution. Not the whole thing, but maybe one of the biggest pieces, one of the biggest puzzles. And according to this study, it turns out we may have invertebrates to thank for our accelerated evolution throughout this world. 385 million years ago, an ancient ancestor of ours left the aquatic life for land. But the question's been, why? How? What makes you make this expensive evolutionary investment, this evolutionary leap? What was there on land that was so appealing?
Space.
One possible reason actually was an easy meal. Invertebrates beat us to land by about 50 million years. So 50 million years of insects on land with no, birds or apex predators, nothing other than other insects to contend with for 50 million years. So the motivation was there. There's food in them thar hills. So they started working on finding a way to get ashore for longer and longer periods of time. But how did this get started? A new multi-college study suggests it was the power of the eyes that did it. Not the limbs that led our ancient aquatic ancestors to access the bug buffet. So there's the land is crawling with millipedes, centipedes, there's spiders, there's all sorts of critters that our fishy ancestors would have loved to munch on. Neuroscientist and engineer Malcolm A. McLiver of Northwestern, evolutionary biologist and paleontologist Lars Schmitz of Claremont McKenna, also with Scripps and Pitzer colleges, studied the fossil record and discovered that eyes nearly tripled in size before, not after, the water to land transition. The tripling coincided with a shift in location of the eyes from the side of the head to the top. The expanded visual range of seeing through the air, they think, may have eventually led to larger brains in early terrestrial vertebrates and the ability to plan and not merely react as fish do. The shift in vision, the required planning for airy endeavors, preceded our morphological changes in terms of limb. Planning as well as the depth of vision likely led to our greater cognition. With limited fishy vision, you need to react to things as quickly as they appear. You can't see that far underwater. With greater depth of vision, you can see prey from much further away, allowing longer reaction times, but also requiring a series of actions to acquire the prey. The enlargement of the eyes is significant. By just popping these eyes above the waterline, the fish could see 70 times farther in the air than they could in the water. With the tripling of the size, the animal's visually monitored space increased 1,000,000-fold.
Wow.
And this happened millions of years before terrestrial animals even existed. Quotey voice, bigger eyes are almost worthless in water because vision is largely limited to what is directly in front of the animal, said Schmidt. But larger eye size is very valuable when viewing through air. In evolution, it often comes down to a trade-off. Is it worth the metabolic toll to enlarge your eyes? What's the point? Here we think the point was to search out prey on land. The massive increase in visual capability enabled by vision in air likely allowed early limbed animals to evolve more complex cognition. These animals were no longer forced to react with split-second speed as was required in that water-limiting water-based vision limiting situation. So also larger eyes were consequently selected for, whereas the study showed in water, larger eyes led to negligible increases in visual range. One animal group that arose after animals came onto the land that went back into the water full time actually saw their eye size decrease because it was no longer necessary. Therefore, a lot of this increase in eye size
waste of energy,
was probably due to, fish looking up and going, oh, look at all that food over there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's fascinating. So fish.
All of that human evolution thanks to invertebrates on land.
Thank you, invertebrates. Thank you, early fishes, for moving your eyes, for peeking out of the water, and then for gaining the limbs to climb onto the water.
Yes, we like it here. Thanks, guys.
We like it here. Thanks.
I love the idea too of the cognitive pressure it puts on that situation where now you can see 70 times further. Now you can't just snap at that thing because it's not just passing by. Now you've got to find a way to get to it. Now you've got to find a way, and then early on, you've got to get there holding your breath? What does a fish do out of water? It's holding its water. I don't know what it is, right? You have to not breathe while doing it at first. You have to really plan this thing out. And that sort of planning, that spark of cognitive necessity may have led to everything that's followed.
That's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of argument, but I think it is fascinating that the change in the visual system to accommodate the larger field of view, that would lead to a larger growth of the brain, and then possibly to support the larger growth of the visual system, you would also have further growth of other cognitive areas that could lead to those skills like planning and everything. It's fascinating. What made it happen? I don't know.
Well, also, though, just to clarify, there were eggs before there were chickens. So
I know this. I was just using it as an idiom. We use these.
Eggs are much older than chickens.
Very much older. I'm not even
Yeah,
questioning.
of
I'm not even saying that is up for debate.
Yeah, you should.
Thanks. Oh my goodness. Well, moving on from chickens, eggs, old fish, and eyes. Well, why don't we move into how much information can we stuff into DNA? That's what we want to know.
Hmm.
We mentioned it all. How? What?
No, yeah, go continue.
So you mentioned it already. You know, the size of computers has decreased. We've got these computers that we call cell phones or smartphones that fit in the palm of your hand. My phone has a little card in it that's like 64 gigs of storage, right? You know, it's like massive amounts of storage, just boop, right in my hand. But it hasn't always been like that. And modern data storage technology really hasn't been around all that long. And if we want to store data for very long periods of time and be able to read it at some future date, say 10,000, 100,000 years ago, years in the future, not ago, in the future, if we want to plan ahead and say we want to put information on another probe like Voyager and send it out into space to be there in a million years, bleeping and booping and be picked up by aliens. You know, we want the data not to have deteriorated. And all modern data storage deteriorates over time. We do not really have a good long-term data storage solution at this point in time. And additionally, I mean, I went through so many forms of storage from when we started using computers when I was in college.
Floppy disks.
College, right? Big cassette tapes, floppy disks that were 5 inches wide to 3.5 inches wide. And then there were things like mini discs and
Zip drives.
Zip discs. And I still have zip discs somewhere back here in my files. I can't read that stuff anymore. I'm gonna have to go to some antique, quote unquote, technology dealer to find a zip drive to be able to read the data, and a computer old enough to be able to actually talk to the zip drive to be able to get the data off of it. So there are all sorts of issues with actually storing data. And researchers have been working since about the early 2000s. George Church was one of the first to really dig into this idea of using DNA to store data. And a few different researchers have worked on this. And last July, even, there was a researchers from Microsoft who stored about 200 megabytes of data in DNA. And so this was a record for how much data was stored in DNA. But this new study that's out this last week from a team at the New York Genome Center, Yaniv Ehrlich and Dina Zielinski, they have used a really interesting strategy to encode data into DNA using an encoding algorithm that's used by communications networks. So if you have noisy data communication, you need to figure out a way to get data in a quality way from place to place. So for example, stuff like BitTorrent and movies, or Netflix, Amazon, they have to get a movie from their cloud servers to your computer that doesn't gap and break and have lots of errors in it. Otherwise, you won't want to watch the movie, right? But that communication network is super noisy. And so an encoding algorithm has been created that's called fountain coding. And this basically creates these little tiny chunks of data, packets of data, so to speak, that get transmitted. And so the more packets you end up sending, the easier it is to reconstruct the original data. And even if you lose some of the packets, it's okay because you have enough to reconstruct it. And so they thought this could work really well for DNA. DNA, it can last for a really long time, right? So could store data for hundreds of thousands of years, right? We're currently looking at like Neanderthal DNA, at mammoth DNA, at, there's all sorts of things we're looking at currently. So DNA can last for a really long time, but it's pretty error prone. And so you need something that's really robust to noise and error. So they're like, hey, this fountain code, it's perfect. And they put in 2.1 megabytes. They compressed this archive that had a simple movie in it, a very short 50-second movie, a simple operating system, a computer virus, and also an Amazon gift card. So they had a few things. And according to an article over on The Atlantic by Ed Yong, that gift card has been decoded, and the money has been used by one of Ehrlich's Twitter followers.
Oh,
so that's kind of fun. So anyway, they were able to encode using this encoding algorithm. It's kind of like you need the encoding algorithm, and then you need a cipher and all that stuff. It's very fun. Like it's kind of spy data storage. 2.1 megabytes. They stuck it in 72,000 segments of DNA with a very small amount of redundancy, and they packed it in there. They determined that after they reconstructed the archive using DNA sequencing and PCR, they were storing 215 petabytes of information per gram of DNA.
Wow.
And they think that this is toward the upper limit or the upper estimate of the maximum of how much you could put into DNA. So this was a really great efficiency for putting information into DNA storage. And then, when you sequence DNA to read it, the DNA gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But using PCR amplification, they were able to determine that they could do this using the fountain encoding because it's okay with errors and messiness. And so they went through 9 rounds of this sequencing and DNA PCR, and they were still able to get a quality read of the data. And they say that based on what they did in testing it, that this system possibly allows for almost infinite reads of the data. Which is very exciting. And currently, if you wanted to put data into DNA, you could maybe do it at about $3,500 per megabyte. But considering that when George Church was doing it, how much did he spend on it? When George Church was putting data into DNA, it was much, much more expensive, probably about $12,000 or more to be able to do the same. So the price has come down, but the amount of research that has gone into this area, as opposed to, say, cell phone technology or other kinds of technologies that have really come down in price, that really hasn't been done. So maybe with further research, the price of DNA storage will come way, way down, and we will be seeing long-term storage of data in DNA as a regular occurrence.
Wild.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. And then basically... oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, literally, one day you'll literally have a thumb drive.
A thumb. Yeah, or you'll have like a plant in the corner that's encoded with some kind of data storage,
I was thinking the thing to do would be to use tardigrades.
Ooh, we like the tardigrades, yes.
Because then you could, for example, send it into space. It'd be fine.
And it would be even safer. The DNA would be even safer in space. There we go.
Especially if you dried them out and they went into their ton state, then they wouldn't even They probably wouldn't be replicating or anything.
Yeah, but they'd be maybe doing a little DNA repair.
Yeah. You're talking about how small this is. So like how the calculation was done by Ed Young that Ehrlich and Zielinski can fit 215,000 times as much data in a gram of DNA as a 1 terabyte currently weighs. So a 1 terabyte hard drive weighs around 150 grams, and they can get 215,000 times as much data in a single gram of DNA. And he said he calculated you could fit all the data in the world in the back of a car. It's a lot of data. That's a lot of junk. That would be a lot of junk in my trunk.
I think that was the plot to Repo Man. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, very, very exciting advancement for DNA storage. Tell me about time crystals. Do we have time?
Yeah. So crystals, from salt to diamonds, even snowflakes, they have atomic structures that arrange themselves in 3D patterns that just repeat. That's how you get the crystalline structure. Scientists reporting in the journal Nature the creation of a phase of matter dubbed a time crystal, in which atoms move in a pattern that repeats through time rather than space. What? The atoms in a time crystal never settle down to what is known as thermal equilibrium, state in which they all have the same exact amount of heat. One of the first examples of a broad new class of matter called non-equilibrium phases, like these have been predicted. So they thought, based on really brainiac math and understanding of physics, we should be able to do this cool thing. But nobody could do it until now. This is quoting voice. This opens the door to a whole new world of non-equilibrium phases, says Andrew Potter, an assistant professor of physics at the University of Texas at Austin. We've taken these theoretical ideas that we've been poking around for the last couple of years and actually built it in the laboratory. Hopefully, this is just the first example of these, with many more to come. And actually, there was another one. University of Maryland successfully created, for the first time, crystal form ions, or electrically charged atoms, from the element ytterbium, which is a man-made mineral that we were discussing from last week. It's one of those. It's a crystal that they like to zap with lasers in labs. By applying just the right electrical field, the researchers levitated 10 of these ions above a surface like a magician's assistant. Next, they zapped the atoms with laser pulses, causing them to flip out over heels. Then they zapped them again and again in regular rhythm. That set up a pattern with flips that repeated in time. What's very interesting about this, Potter notes, the pattern of atom flips repeated only half as fast as the laser pulses. This would be like pounding on a bunch of piano keys twice a second, and the notes coming out only once a second. The weird quantum behavior was a signature that he and his colleagues had predicted, confirmed the result that this was indeed a time crystal.
So basically, it's that repeating pattern that they stimulated, and would this happen naturally? I mean, it seems like, okay, we made this thing in a lab and we zapped it with the laser
and artificially created minerals. So
at a very, artificially created minerals and lasers, and zap it at a particular beat. It's like, is it free jazz?
It's a new phase of matter. What they do with it, who knows? Right? But it might, there's it's always a throwaway. We're dealing with something quantum, so it could have something to do with quantum computing at some point. But so far it's just really cool. They created a time crystal.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is.
I wonder, something like this, that has to be stimulated, where, we in the chat room, we're making jokes about Doctor Who, and there's also, this the idea of, okay, is something like this going to is this going to lead to the technology that will give us some kind of time travel ability? I mean, it's a new form of matter, but is it really? I mean,
not a new form, a new phase of matter, but yeah, I mean, you're creating patterns in time that aren't there in space. Like, what does that even mean? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to you and I.
Right.
But somebody who's like, oh, if there was only a way to make a pattern through time, but not in space, then I could complete my whatever crazy time machine TARDIS space warping technology. Like, yeah. I mean, we're inventing stuff. Like, we invented the wheel just now, right?
Mm-hmm.
With this could be like the invention of the wheel, which people used to make pottery for thousands of years before anybody stuck it on a cart. Like, you never really understand.
And dung beetles rode around all day on something very much like a wheel.
Yeah. So
yeah, this seems really similar. There's or not similar, but in a different vein of this kind of a form or a phase of matter. So we've got crystals that are symmetrical and they line up very specifically. And then I was just reading about a researcher today who her work on emergent properties, she actually figured out how to create a crystal that is infinitely unsymmetric. So actually kind of broke the idea of crystals. And so I don't know, maybe this is also that just a fun idea of when you're thinking about, okay, matter is in 3 dimensions, but then time is in the 4th, and we deal with the matter all the time. But what about the time? Can we change the time? Can we make it flux? Is it going to be a flux capacitor? Yeah.
There's a whole, we're still really like, either there isn't anything else cool that we can do with science, and tomorrow we find out we got to the end of the internet, it's all done, right? Or there's the possibility that everything, like, if you look, you don't have to look back.
If we can think of it, we can probably do it.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You don't have to look too far back in science, and everybody thinks that they're at the highest point that science will ever be at, and it's the most that we can ever do with the technologies that we've uncovered and with the physics that we understand. Like, this is it. 1910. This is the epitome of everything that can be done through science. And then as time progresses and we find even things that we thought might not have been useful but were just interesting become now the cornerstones of a brand new technology. I think that we have no idea what's coming still. And as long as we can keep the science going, we're going to keep finding out more clues about what science will uncover that next big leap or two ahead.
Yeah.
It seems like we can do everything except for maybe the flying car. But that's also because it's just impractical.
Just a bad idea.
It's just impractical.
Yeah, it's just not a good idea.
There actually have been flying cars. They're just not that great. Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Because we have things called planes, so it's fine.
And now we have drones. Yeah. And I'm looking at another article that's over on Gizmodo about the time crystals. And they're saying the researchers are bringing up quantum computing applications in the far future because of the possibility of being able to control lots of quantum bits at the same time. But the writer says the importance of this is probably pretty fundamental. Normally, phases of matter exist only by changing the way particles arrange in space. Time crystals open up a whole world of possible new phases of matter by adding these laser or energy pulses, phases that only exist when you're doing something to the solid, like a quantum physics version of how cornstarch mixed with water only feels solid when you smack it.
Okay.
I love that analogy. That's fantastic.
But to this point, though, the story you had just did previously, where they said this is the most information you can fit into space through the DNA. This is it. This is the top amount of information that fits within a gram. And then they go, oh, yeah, for any given moment. But what if we created a dozen moments within that gram? And now you've just, done a tenfold increase in yes. So this is
right.
Every limit is just a challenge for the next generation to solve.
And I love that this is a study that, or an experiment that came out of somebody was like, I have an idea, and then wrote up a paper about it and didn't actually do it themselves. We're like, this sounds great. And then a bunch of researchers were like, yeah, let's do it.
It can happen.
Let's make it happen. I love that. All right. Well, moving on from time crystals, I want to bring you back to yourself. Let's come back into ourselves, out of time, and back into the space that we exist in our bodies. Your bones. We're going to go right into your bones. Did you know that your bones help regulate your appetite?
No.
Yeah, this is so neat. This is a new study. I mean, we've known for a little while now that bones are something of basically an endocrine organ where the bones are an organ. They don't just, hold your body up.
Yeah.
They're not just structure. They also, they're huge in like cholesterol metabolism and lots of cholesterol. Cholesterol is integrated into things like estrogen and testosterone. Bones are also important for creating red blood cells and lots of other things. We're finding out about all sorts of things. New research published by a female scientist. Her name is Stavroula Kusteni of Columbia University in New York City. She has found that there is a compound that is called lipocalin-2 or LCN2. And this had previously been found in the blood, had been found in fat cells, and it kind of made sense. People were like, oh, lipocalin-2, it's involved maybe with appetite, but wasn't really highly concentrated in fat cells, and so people didn't really think much about it. Well, Kusteni and her colleagues, they found that it has 10 times higher a concentration in the osteoblasts in your bone. So your bone cells, osteoblasts. And then they found that when they generated mice, so they did a knockout mice, get rid of that gene that creates LCN2, the levels of the hormone dropped 2/3 in these mice that they had knocked out. And then the mice went on that had this lowered LCN2 in their blood. They ate more, and they gained weight and fat mass. So they started depositing fat, gained weight, ate more, had no control over how much they ate. When they injected this protein, into regular mice or mice that were already obese, didn't matter. The rodents curbed their hunger. They stopped eating so much. And the animals then started to lose weight, right? They found these injections also increased insulin levels and glucose tolerance.
I have a new fat diet.
What?
Get one of these protein injections. There you go.
I know, right?
Done.
So then they were like, all right, so LCN2 obviously is really involved in metabolism and the insulin and glucose metabolism pathways. So how crazy that it's coming from the bone instead of from the fat cells. But all right, how does it, if it is an endocrine hormone, it should end up affecting appetite. It's probably doing something in the brain. Does it actually have receptors in the brain? And so they took this stuff and they injected into the hypothalamus, and they found that LCN2 activated these cells that expressed a particular receptor protein, and those mice changed their eating habits. But in mice that had that receptor protein taken out, no change in anything. So this is more evidence that it goes to the hypothalamus and it binds to and activates this particular receptor. And so it's crossing the blood-brain barrier, which is very interesting and potentially important if we would be giving it to people therapeutically as for people potentially with type 2 diabetes, which they found individuals that had type 2 diabetes and had their body weight was inversely linked to serum levels of this LCN2. So higher body weight, lower levels of the protein, just like the mice that they had looked at. And then they also found that there were some of these patients that had the hypothalamic receptor had mutations in it, and they actually had higher levels of this LCN circulating in their body, but they still were a little heavy because it wasn't communicating. Yeah. So there's a bunch more research to take place here, but this is a really interesting finding.
Yeah.
And the story of our bones grows ever more interesting. I mean, we've been focusing on the fat-brain connection for controlling diabetes and weight gain and metabolic disorders, but maybe we should also be looking at our bones.
It sort of reminds me of how we're like always talking about how we've underestimated the intelligence of animals. It's like our own brain is like, no, I'm literally the brain. I'm connected to everything that's going on in your body all the time. I am more your brain is more intelligent than you give it credit for. I do more things. I am the reason. There's a reason I'm the brain. I'm connected to everything that happens. Nothing goes on without my.
I also think about how we have these systems of organs, and we talk about how they're all related and they all work together, and our entire body is a system, and there are bones.
I know. Your bones hold you up. They make your blood and they hold you up.
They're structural support. Moving on. And then, nope, turns out your body is a system.
Yeah, a complete system. And
related.
Yeah, and I looked at some other studies that from a couple of years back looking at LCN2 in bones. And there is also a likelihood of if LCN2 is low, bone density is more likely to be lower. So there's bone deposition also. So insulin and glucose and bone deposition. And so it's a system, man. It's a big, crazy system.
It's all connected, man.
That's right. It really is. There's like ligaments and blood vessels. The lymph. Okay, is it time for nightmare juice?
Yes. Oh, let's talk about spiders. So many spiders. So this is the study from the University of British Columbia, and Letitia Aviles, she's the professor of zoology there, and she studied cobweb spiders. They're in the group Anelosemus. And so a famous cobweb spider, for example, is the black widow. But the spiders that she studied were in Ecuador, and she was looking at how at some elevations they live in small colonies, 1 or 2 families, and then in the lower down in the rainforest they had colonies of hundreds to thousands. So why did some spiders live in tight-knit tiny groups and some spiders live in giant groups, even though they were the same species? And so they took some living single-family groups from the higher elevation, brought them down to the rainforest, and then they measured predators and rainfall. They protected some groups from predators, and they protected some from rainfall and damage from their webs. And they found that environmental conditions were those 2 environmental conditions were forcing spiders to form larger colonies. So they're actually helping each other. They were building stronger webs with more silk. And then also when the webs got damaged, some spiders would either protect their offspring from predators, fix webs, and then somebody else would do the opposite. So they would essentially be able to leave their kids with an aunt or an uncle over there while they went and fixed the web, or the uncle would go fight off the ants. A-N-T, not A-U-N-T. Well, the parents would stay with their babies. So the tough conditions kind of forced these spiders to live in these huge nightmarish colonies of thousands of spiders.
Thousands of spiders.
So they're just doing it to help each other out.
Cool.
Thousands of spiders living together.
They're just trying to deal with the harsh terrain, man.
The harsh
Cut them a
rain,
break.
weather.
And don't walk into the webs.
No. Don't walk into the webs. Bah. Yeah, pretty much every spider, other than those that are crevice spiders. These are spiders that they spin webs, right?
Yeah. But these are pretty thick webs. So these spiders, because of where they live, a single web for a single spider is not going to cut it. Even the ones that are at higher elevations are living in small family groups, so they can make a thicker, stronger, mesher sort of web structure. It's not the standard circle web.
Wow. And they find support in their communities. Spiders, we find out more and more about these creatures.
Yeah, you go spider communities, band together, save your babies. You
Not
can be
near my
whatever you
house.
want.
No, not near my house. You can't. Unless you're just a cool garden spider, then go ahead, make your web outside. That's great. Or if you're a little house spider, that's fine. Cracks and crevices, that's for you. Take it.
If you're a black widow or another
Get
cobweb spider,
Get out.
you
Get out.
should be not seen nor heard. You can live
Never.
in my wood pile as long as you never go anywhere near me.
No, not in my wood pile, because I want to go near my wood pile, and then I don't want to bring black widows into the house and then like hear them going,
No, you'll never see them.
"Ah," when you like the wood on fire.
Oh my goodness. If no
All
one's
right.
here to hear it when you burn a spider, does it make a sound?
Oh, no. Black widows, I think, are the most beautiful of all spiders, though. They are gorgeous.
They are very
Beautiful
pretty.
and menacing looking.
And they don't come attacking you either. They
No.
they don't want to come running after you or chasing. They don't jump
No.
on those beautiful
They
slender
can.
black
They
legs.
actually can jump pretty
Yeah.
good. But they don't run you down.
No,
They're
no.
not hunting you. They're hunting something else. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and when it comes to people, seems like they're hunting something other than sex these days.
Pretty tall.
A study
What?
I'm switching to my story about
There
people's
was a
sex
segue there, but I somehow missed.
A researcher named Jean Twenge, who's a psychologist at San Diego State University, looked at data from the General Social Survey, which involves a national sample of Americans over 18 years old, surveyed most years between 1972 and 2014. This study involved responses from 26,620 Americans and focused on how often they were having sex. Published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, American adults are having a lot less sex now. Yeah. So in the early 2010s, American adults are romping 9 fewer times a year than they did in the 90s, just 20 years prior.
We had better drugs.
This drop was from an average of about 62 times a year between 95 and 2000 to 53 times a year between 2010 and 2014. And this was across basically everything. And they link this to people not getting married.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be one of my questions.
And also married people having just less sex.
You know why? Technology.
That's what they bring up in, that's what the...
Do you want to do it or do you want to watch some Netflix? Yeah.
And if you've got something else to do, maybe you're just not interested. Yeah. So
They fall
Yeah.
asleep binge watching a new show, and then they just don't get around to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody's having less people without steady partners, though. They rose from 26% of the survey to 33% in 2014. So people getting married or just having partnerships where they're going steady. There are more people not doing that, for sure.
There are more people single.
More people single.
Okay.
33% now compared to 26%, or at least 33% in 2014. And the people most or least likely, I guess, to be having sex are those with a college degree and people living in the South. Parents of kids older than 6 also are doing it less.
Mm-hmm. People in the South, that's interesting.
Yeah. And people who skip pornographic movies are also having less sex.
Who skip them?
Yeah. People who don't watch pornographic movies. I don't, this is just
I would think it would
out
be
in
the other
trends.
way.
Yeah. Interesting. But they think increased work hours, increased interest in porn. So those who are, I don't know. And other factors might be declines in happiness, increases in depression, and the availability of technology.
What about fitness?
They didn't bring that up specifically. So
I wonder if we're just eating like crap and we're tired all the time. That's probably also.
But that's also going to affect your happiness, depression.
That's true.
That's
true. It's definitely all interrelated, but I think that could be part of it too.
I still think we had better drugs, better music.
Oh, the 90s, Yeah. The dream of the 90s is alive in Portland.
Yes, that's
1890s.
The 1890s, exactly. My final story, I want to take us out on a very positive note for women. There is a new fellowship called the Brooke Owens Fellowship, in which women are given paid internships to work at aerospace corporations or organizations. This year on Wednesday, this is less than a year after Brooke Owens died of terminal cancer. But her friend, who is the former deputy NASA administrator, Lori Garver, was very struck by her friend Owens's death and contacted a lot of people she knew and said, hey, isn't there something we could do to mentor young women interested in getting into the aerospace industry? And it turned into this fellowship program in which they have given the first class of fellows, 36 women, fellowships for the summer and a future of networking and hopefully bright aerospace careers ahead of them. And this is, have either of you seen Hidden Figures?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So women at NASA of all backgrounds. I mean, it's not just NASA, it's the aerospace industry in general. Women could be there more. There are not many women in the industry, and there's not a lot of women in general in the pipeline, just not highly represented. And so hopefully something like this will bring more experienced women, because this will give women great experience at jobs in the aerospace industry, bring them into the field to excel. Yes. Yeah. And if you have not seen Hidden Figures, please go see it. It was amazing.
I kind of want to watch it every day.
I do too. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that movie was amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did not watch all the movies that were up for Oscars this year, but I would say it was deserving of every one of its awards, and it should have won Best Movie.
I loved it.
I thought it was the story, everything, and all the women who were so pivotal in getting the Apollo mission to space. I mean, that's just amazing. Yeah. Hidden figures. They were. Nobody knew their story.
Yeah.
And now the world does, which is brilliant. More such stories need to be told.
Yes. Which is why we're here, right?
Which is why we are here.
I am so thankful that I could spend International Women's Day with both of you.
Aw.
And that we could discuss science, because ultimately this is perfect. This show has allowed me to feel like I have a voice, to see myself in science, to be able to discuss these things in a way that I hadn't before. And it's also inspired, I think, many of my friends to think about things in a way that maybe they haven't before. And to have such a strong leader who is also a woman is such an important part of this as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you, both of you, for being my role models and my colleagues and my co-hosts.
Thank you, Blair. I'm so glad that you're a part of the show now. It's fantastic. And Justin, thank you.
I feel a little left out. It's okay. It's Women's Day. It's fine. It's okay. You don't have to yeah.
Yes, every other day is Man's Day.
We got 364 other days. Like, this one just all to yourselves. It's fine.
But every week is Science Week on This Week in Science. That's what we bring. So thanks, everybody, for listening to This Week in Science this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. And I would like to say thank you to our Patreon sponsors. Thank you so much. Where did my video go?
Thank you to, oh yeah.
Thank you to Chris Clark, Paul Disney, G. Burton Lattimore, John Ratnaswamy, Richard Onomus, Byron Lee, EO, Jared Lysette, Kevin Parachan, Andy Groh, Keith Corsell, Jake Jones, Gerald Sorrells, Lysis Adkins, Derek Nickel, David Friedel, James Randall, Eric Schwab, Bob Calder, Mark Massaros, Edward Dyer, Trainer 84, Brian Hedrick, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Henry, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Tony Steele, Jared Olongo, Steve DeBell, Ksenia Volkova, Daryl Harun Sarang, Melissa Mosley, Alex Wilson, Jason Scheiderman, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Dozier, Malthu Litwin, Eric Knapp, Jason Roberts, Richard Porter, Rodney, David Wiley, Robert Aston, Aurora Lee, Bill Kersey, Ben Rothig, Darwin Hannon, Rudy Garcia, Nick Abassi, Felix Alvarez, Cosmic Gypsy, Brian Hone, Orly Radio, Brian Condren, Mark, Nathan Greco, Hexator, Deborah Smith, Mitch Neves, Flying Out, John Crocker, Christopher Dreyer, Sylvan Westby, Artyom Shuwata, Dave Wilkinson, Steve Mishinsky, Rick Ramus, Gary Swinsberg, Phil Nadeau, Braxton Howard, Saul Good Sam, Matt Sutter, Adam McGrenier, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Kurt Larson, Stephen Imsom, Michael George, Russell Jensen, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Gian Maloney, Jason Olds, James Paul West, Alec Doty, Luma Lama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkon, Aaron Luthen, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, David Simmerly, Tyler Harrison, Columbo Ahmed. Thank you for all your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us, you can find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience, or you can just go to twist.org and click on that Patreon link. Remember, you can help us just by telling your friends about TWIS also. So just go right now, mash that share button. Share us with your friends. On next week's show, we will be back again, broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time, the day after Save a Spider Day.
Ooh.
Yeah. And also, it's going to be daylight savings time coming up again. Oh my gosh, we're going to be so tired next week. But we will be here 8 p.m. Pacific time on twist.org/live, where you can join us in our chat room and you can watch live. But if you can't make it, don't worry. Our past episodes are always available at twist.org/YouTube, facebook.com/thisweekinscience, and twist.org.
Thank you for enjoying the show. TWIS is available also as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory, and there we shall be. Or if you have one of those mobile type devices, we are TWIS, the #4 Droid app in the Android marketplace, or simply This Week in Science in anything Apple marketplacey.
For more information on anything you heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's at www.twis.org, where you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at Jacksonfly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We will be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
It's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. So how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
Oops. I didn't mean to turn it off that fast. Oopsie. That's okay. I'll just add it on there at the end when I edit the podcast. This is This Week in Feeding the Guinea Pigs.
They love cilantro.
They do love cilantro. Hi, Tracy. Oh, those cute little guys. Time crystals. Oh my goodness. I want to make
Hey,
time
Dad.
crystals. I just need to get my hands on some terbium. Disturbium.
Tracy, you're so loud today.
It's like a little jumping guinea pig. They're so excited about that. They're like, give us more. Look at that.
Penza.
This is seriously, it's like whack-a-mole, but it's
You would never whack.
no, you just give them cilantro. They go up and down, up and down.
Cilantro. I
He
love
goes-
cilantro.
Okay, there comes a little guinea pig head. He's gonna jump right out of there.
Charlaboo is shy. Oh, there's Sharpenza again. Where's your mom?
I love their names.
Yes.
Sharpenza,
They're the greatest. They're all at least two names.
Charlaboo. I know. What's Tracy's full name?
Tracy Smirkin.
Tracy Smirkin. That's right.
And yes, I do believe it has to do with the fact that she looks like.
Yep. Yep.
There's mom. Look at that. Here we go.
Mama. The mama
She
that
won't
they didn't
stick her head
know.
out. Yeah.
But what was it? They got the mom with a girl.
They got
Offspring.
the mom as a
Didn't-
baby.
Didn't know she was pregnant.
She was a pregnant baby. She
Yeah.
was found in Dolores Park, which is
That's
why
right.
her last name and this one's last name is Park. Charlaboo Park and Sharpenza Park.
Because they were found in the park.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Tracy, you have cilantro on your head.
The guinea pigs. I love that the guinea pigs are popping up. Oops, still no
Yeah.
Justin popping up. But these guinea pigs, wow, they don't realize that we're here watching them. Otherwise, they would never be doing this.
Human, you're just sitting here to feed us, right? That's
Yeah.
the situation.
Well, usually they're pretty shy with strangers too.
They know Blair.
Space guinea pigs. Panoramic's in the audience. Hi, Pam. Pamela. Chelsea looks like she's getting so big. Seeing those pictures lately. You guys are so cute. Thanks, Dictel. Glad you enjoyed the show. Go find out about time crystals for us. Or maybe time hamsters.
USS Rover, how dare you? These are not hamsters.
These are not hamsters. Those are guinea pigs.
guinea pigs.
Hamsters are triples born pregnant. Rah. Up to your hip. Oh my goodness, she's a big girl. But still,
Look at that little
as
tractor.
your baby gets bigger. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love watching them eat.
Look at
They
them.
eat so fast.
You know, what is it? What country is it? Peru? Where they eat guinea pigs?
Yes.
What?
Where are they from originally? Is it Peru? I can never remember. I thought it was India.
No, actually, they're from the wild plains of the Americas. There was a time when
When
herds
guinea
of
pigs
guinea
roamed free.
pigs, by the tens of thousands,
Wild. The
You'd
Andes.
be in the
Yeah.
distance, you'd hear the rumble. You'd see the dust rising from the horizon.
I love their little calls. They're so cute.
And then the massive herd of guinea pigs would stampede and munch everything in their path.
So it was a sad day when the guinea pigs came through and destroyed a farm.
They would descend like locusts
Yes.
upon the central valleys.
You want berries? You want some berries? Raspberries? No, not worth coming up for.
Haters.
How about mom? Would you like a raspberry? There we go.
So let's see, guinea pigs were first domesticated as long ago as 2000 BC in the Andes in South America, the region now known as Peru and Bolivia. Yeah. In the wild in South America, they live in rocky areas, grasslands, and forest edges in groups of about 10 adults. They live in burrows that are either dug by themselves or by other animals. They are most active at night. Oh, which is why they're so moving. They're so crazy right now.
Yes.
And that's when they come out and forage on a wide variety of plant materials. So this really is feeding time for them. They're very excited. The guinea pig was originally kept for food, but some may have become family pets for kids.
Mm. They're a pretty good pet, I have to say.
Yeah. They were...
As long as you don't mind cleaning up lots of poop and pee.
This is so interesting. Guinea pigs were not often bought. Rather, they were given as presents, especially as wedding gifts or as gifts to special guests or children. They would be kept in the household kitchen where they would be allowed to run freely. And then the guinea pig also played the role of the evil spirit collector in traditional healing rituals. In Andean medicine, the guinea pig was rubbed over the body of a sick patient, and when it started squeaking, they believed it had identified the affected area. Black guinea pigs.
Put me down.
I know. Black guinea pigs were especially holy, as in the wild black is the rarest color, and most wild guinea pigs are brown or gray. Wow. And then in the 1700s, the Dutch and English took guinea pigs from South America to Europe, where they became aristocratic pets.
I love those little guinea pig heads that keep popping up.
They keep popping up behind Blair. They're like, hey.
Oh my gosh, what is that?
This is Tracy Smirkin.
Tracy Smirkin.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Look at her.
Her hair is amazing.
That's crazy. I would think that's fake. I would not believe that's a real guinea pig.
Good night, Fada.
I'd seen it on the interwebs.
You're not going to make any sounds? No sounds? Maybe a couple? No?
Omelette.
Look at the face.
It's a cute little guinea pig.
Fabulous. You're fabulous. All right, go back to your cilantro.
Cilantro. There you go. Yeah, Strength says they were originally called popcorn pig roasts. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, lots of food, animals. I guess they become pets when you're not starving.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of food and you have the luxury of thinking that things are cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to kill you to survive.
No.
I'll name you Tracy.
Yes, your name is Tracy now. Yeah, guinea pigs. Maybe the guinea pigs stopped in Guinea on the way from South America to Europe. And the story got changed. Who knows? I know that one does look like Tracy does look like a little bit like a mop. She's not a mop though. She's very cute. Her hair is amazing.
Oh my goodness.
She has the best stylists.
I wanted to show you the
so
baby, but she's like, no.
She's the shy one, right?
No, the mom's the really shy one.
Mom is
The baby is the one whose face you've seen all night.
been popping up there.
face.
Okay, so guinea pig sounds. Jenisky wants to know if we could what if we could
Let's see if I
understand?
can. They're pretty well
Weaking.
fed
The
now.
weak.
You guys hear that?
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's normally associated with hunger or a desire to eat. Don't break things. And weaking is something that is exclusively directed to humans. Scientists have
Really?
never heard those sounds made in the wild. Weaking was learned through domestication. Guinea pigs also purr. They don't purr like a cat, though. It's a hybrid of the grumble of a dog and the low purr of a cat. And this sound can only be made by the throat of a guinea pig. And it's usually associated with being content or happy and is usually made when you're gently petting your pig. But if they're startled and feel threatened, they vocalize the same noise in short spurts. And then they have a rumble, which is similar to the purr, except with a vibrating effect and lower pitch. And the male uses this sound to woo the female to mate.
Ooh.
And when he makes the noise, he'll start to wiggle his hips, walk around the female.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Giving his rumble strut. Rumble strut. Yeah.
Rumble, rumble, woo.
Rumble strut. And then if the male isn't trying to romance the female might rumble to the male to signal that she would be receptive.
Hey, get the wooing.
Exactly. Get to wooing, boy. And then
I wanted to show you the baby.
oh, you got the baby with his little red eyes.
Your little
Hello,
red eyes. I know. It's terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst.
I know. Guinea pigs also growl. And it's a distress sound. Brr, 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 brr. They don't like change and they'll start growling. Or they
That's a
also
microphone.
teeth chatter. And if they teeth chatter, it means they're angry, unhappy, or agitated.
Your little heart
Yeah.
is going so fast. Look, she has floppy ears. It's like my favorite thing about her.
Oh, they're cute floppies.
Such a cute floppy ears.
Ed's asking if Kai wants a pet. Yeah, he wants a scorpion.
He has 2 cats.
He has 2 cats, which is plenty, but now he wants a scorpion. Because his friend Ada has a scorpion, and he really likes Ada's scorpion. And he's like, Ada says her scorpion's really cute. I want a scorpion too, mommy. Like, okay, a scorpion.
So
Awesome. That would be an easy one to take care of. You just put him in a glass cage and
might be
never
difficult
open
to
it.
clean.
Yeah, I think you don't have to clean it, but like once a year.
Really?
I don't know. I'm making that up.
But, yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't think I would be cleaning it. I'd be like, Scorpion, you go now. Just go with your bad cage cleaning self. There you go. You just stay away from me.
All right, kiddos, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night. Blair, Kiki.
You doing well?
Another amazing, great show.
It was good.
Bye.
It was fun.
Do you have family in the house again?
No, I don't. But I'm making art things.
Oh, cool. We like you
Yeah.
making art things. That's great. Oh,
Horses.
horses.
This is actually a fun story. This horse is the first, what do you call? Where they did a sequential photography of a horse running. Because in art, they a lot of times would show horses with their feet off the ground outstretched as they were galloping quickly. And somebody made a bet to Leland Stanford, a railroad mogul here in California, or he made the bet that they actually at some point did have their feet off the ground, whereas somebody else was saying they didn't. So he hired this photographer, and it turns out there is no outstretched pose where the horse has all of its feet off the ground. It doesn't actually happen. However, the horse does at some point pull its legs up off the ground underneath. So is that the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, he was right. At some point, all 4 legs are off the ground. It's just flying, hovering there. but it's with the legs tucked underneath, not outstretched.
And so you're doing art with that, making artings.
Yeah, I have hundreds of these. No, I've got to incorporate into a thing.
Cool. That's very cool. Can't wait to see it. Finished product.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be in your art show.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Justin's going to do an art show. It's going to be awesome. That's right, Hot Rod, 17 frames per second. 24 frames per
24.
second.
It's 24.
24 frames per second.
And actually, this wasn't 20. This was, I believe, 24 frames per second, too, which became the basis for film.
Yep.
It was, you went from this to zoetropes to...
I love zoetropes. Those are fun.
Yes, Edward Muybridge. And he also had like 14 other ways of saying his name. It was like, I think the first one was like Muggeridge.
What?
He kept changing his last name. He just didn't like it. He was never happy with it.
That's funny. Yeah. Things you learn on a science show.
He also murdered his wife's lover.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who was somebody in the military. But he was found not guilty. He went for like an insanity plea, but they were like, nah, it doesn't matter. Like that was not right. They shouldn't have been, It's like they called it justified. Yeah.
Justified, right.
And then she like left him.
Well,
Anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder why.
I
don't think I want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah. Ended badly anyway.
Go. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Video rather than pictures, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Hot Rod, I know that 24 frames per second is what the film industry uses. Although if you get into like high definition video, it's like 30 something.
Yeah, you want to hit the flicker fusion frequency.
Yeah.
The human
that's the name of the piece.
visual system.
The name of this piece is called Flicker.
Nice.
I'm incorporating a little bit of an optical illusion that creates a flickering dot effect that's not actually there. So it kind of will look like there's flickering motion taking place on the painting, which is just an optical illusion. And then these are in there to finish the overarching attempt to jam concepts into one piece. What's the meaning of this? I try to jam a lot of stuff into one thing.
Let's put it all in there.
That's the meaning behind it.
Get it all in. I like things. I'm going to put them in there.
Here, I'll show you what the rest of the painting is. I don't have quite the flicker effect happening perfectly yet. It's sort of happening, but it needs a little bit of... It needs these in there. I think these might do it, but hang on.
Well, he's going to move things around. Justin uses tripwires.
So I don't know. You probably can't see the flickering dot. Actually, it's showing up almost too well on this film.
Is it
white lines? Is that what you're talking about?
It's white lines, but but you're probably seeing some black dots in the intersections.
I'm seeing whiter dots in the
whiter
intersections.
dots?
Okay, yeah. So it's not quite.
It depends on where I'm looking. Yeah.
Yeah. And then these individual little horses will be like in these frames.
Oh, cool. Is that paint or metal?
It's paint.
Paint. Cool.
It's all acrylics.
Nice. I like it.
You made an art.
Made an art thing.
I like you creative people. It's great.
It's already March. I have to decide if we're going to do a calendar again.
I know.
We can chat about it.
I'm a little overwhelmed by the fact that it's already March.
I know. I was like, I have plenty of time to decide. Oh, we're a quarter through the year already? Cool.
I know. Yeah, Dicktail's saying he could see black dots at the edge of his field of view. It's kind of what I was seeing, white dots in the center and black dots more towards the edge, gray to black. It's cool. I like it. That's awesome.
All right.
Thanks for sharing your art.
Yeah. Which is what I'm going to go retire to. So good night, y'all. See you next week.
That's a great thing to go retire to. See you next week, Justin.
Bye.
Yeah. I don't know what else. Yeah, it was a decent day. We made it through.
We made it through.
You fed some guinea pigs. We had a good show.
Yeah.
We talked some cool female science, women in science. I have discovered from Richard Quintanilla, who is in Peru. He says, yes, the guinea pigs are a very popular dish here in Peru. Not the same rodent. They call them cuyas. Cuyas. Popular dish in Peru. Not the same rodent as the guinea pig. Cuyas are also used by shamans to extract diseases out of sick people.
I wonder if it's like a kavi or something.
They said there's also another giant. He says there's also a giant rodent, Ronsoko, is also eaten by
I bet.
capybara, probably, yeah, eaten by Amazonian tribes. Fascinating. Oh, the things that people eat. Did you see the video? What was it last week? There was a video of Angelina Jolie in I don't know which country she was in. I don't remember that exactly, but basically cooking insects and eating insects with local people in the area where.
I didn't see it, but that's awesome.
Yeah. And she was very into it. She's like, yep, you travel out here and this is what the food is and you just have to eat it. And so she was like, yeah, these are really good. They're kind of taste like this. These ones taste like this. She's telling the video person and the reporter, oh, this one's a little bit more advanced palates. You don't really need to try that one yet. It's pretty funny.
It's the livestock of tomorrow.
I know. It's gonna, seriously, unless we can come up with, maybe it'll be both stem cell burgers,
Yeah, 3D printed food. Yeah.
3D printed food, insect burgers, stem cell burgers, there's all that stuff. Yeah. We have to get our protein somehow. I guess we already eat enough insects in our diet.
That's true. We could also just eat more plants and less meats.
We could just eat more plants. Yeah. I have to say, it's funny though. I was vegetarian for so long and I was totally fine. And there's something that shifted in how I feel about how hungry I am. And if I eat like a meal that's like rice and veggies, maybe with tofu, I get hungry more quickly. I digest it faster. I get hungry more quickly. And I feel like I'm always like, I'm on the hunt for more food. If I try, I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and, not eat chicken at this meal. I'm going to eat, I'm going to not do meat for a day. I'm like, I feel like those days I am just like, I need food.
Carry nuts. Carry nuts with you on that day. Yeah, that's what I've discovered is
you.
when I have been on my crazy health kicks and I've like eaten no processed food, like no carbs, no sugars, right? I have to snack all day.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't
But-
do it without carbs. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but I
Carbs
have to snack, but I
support
like
network
snack all
system.
day, but it's still less calories in the end,
Yeah.
and it's still healthier, and it's like all sorts of positive benefits, but it's just carbs are so delicious. I just can't.
So delicious.
I can't stop with the carbs.
Just have good carbs. You know, brown rice, it's all nutty and yummy. Or you have, like a good loaf of multigrain bread. It's like all yummy. You have like a yummy pasta. Yummy. Oh, yummy.
I need to eat less white food, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I can do without the white food. I mean, I don't know though. I mean, I am slowly picking away at the chocolate birthday cake from Kai's birthday this weekend that's still in the fridge.
Oh yeah, that was this weekend. How did it go?
It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. How many
was
kids
good.
did you have at your house?
We did not do it at my house. We did it at the
okay, good.
park.
Oh, good.
So it was great. Yes.
How
I would
many
not
kids is
eat
it?
guinea pig, Ed. I don't eat meat. I only eat chicken and fish.
That's
It's not-
good.
It's not real meat. No,
Your
it is.
blood's gonna be so happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
And your heart.
Not guinea pigs, but the party this weekend, Kai's 6th birthday party. We were at the park because he wanted to invite his entire class. And I said, yeah, that's not happening at my house. So we went to the park and it was probably like 40 degrees and it rained and we had a covered picnic area, but it was so cold. It was so cold. The kids had a blast.
Oh, good.
We set up like a kind of like an Easter egg hunt, but instead of Easter eggs, it was pictures of Pokemon all around. The kids got a little package of Pokeballs and a little Velcro strap to stick it on, and then they'd go around and they had to find the Pokemon and throw the Pokeballs at them, catch their Pokemon, and check them off their Pokédex. We made them a little paper Pokédex with pictures of all the Pokemon they're supposed to find, and the kids ran around and loved it. Yeah, it's great.
Cute.
Yeah, it was super cute.
Oh, how fun. I'm sure.
Right, Hot Rod. Okay, had a great time. Yeah. Kids are sticky, noisy, smelly, and want to touch all your stuff. It's true.
Accurate.
That's entirely accurate. So having the party at the park was one of my most brilliant ideas ever. Subtract from that the fact that it's like March in Portland. So,
yeah.
But everybody was like, yeah, we're doing this like Portlanders. We're out in the rain. All the kids came with their raincoats and everyone had a great time. Oh my gosh, Pam, kids' birthday parties are so exhausting. Kids' birthday parties. But what you do in the future, you still can have parties. What you do is you outsource it. You don't have it at your house. Do something like have it at a park, or you go someplace like a play space that has party packages. So all you have to do is write a check and give them the money.
Bring
and
a cake, write a check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's done, and you don't have to deal with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
That's the other way to do it. Or you have like a very, very, very small family affair.
Yes.
Or only like a couple of kids, and you do like a really small, like 5-person sleepover or something. But that gets hard to do. But yeah. Ed, are you doing a Science Island hangout on Sunday? Panoramic, you're funny. You house sit. Yes, the animals look after. You have animals to look after, and the animals look after the children. No.
I don't think the guinea pigs would be very good at that.
No. Up earlier in the feed, Pam said that she had house sat once, and let me see if I can find it. There were guinea pigs, and then the cat and the dog watched the guinea pigs, and who had free range of the house and the yard, and protected them from other outside interloping cats and
Aw.
dogs. That's so
Cute.
sweet. It's adorable. The guinea pigs were part of the family.
Very cute.
Wow, your kid has a lot of energy. Why am I not surprised, Pam? Yeah, you know, what is it? The limb doesn't fall far from the tree. That yeah, the branch. Yes.
Did you just place the little baby, Ed? That's not very nice.
So Sunday, Science Island Hangout. That's cool. Anyone who's interested in that can find Ed's announcements over on Facebook, or also you can go to scienceisland.org and the Science Island. Excuse me, I think I'm tired. My tired hit me.
It made me on too.
Yeah. You can go check out the Science Island Hangout on Sunday. Science Island. Is that where it goes? Yep. And there's a link right there. Chat and Google Plus Hangout. And yep. ScienceIsland.org. Look at all this cool stuff that's there. I always forget the suffixes for things. Everybody yawning. I know. I'm sorry I got you yawning. You know, there was something I read this week about a researcher doing like a review of yawning research and maybe calling into question whether or not yawning is actually contagious. But I don't think so. But basically, I don't think what he got at it with, to summarize, long story short, he was questioning the field of research into yawning contagiousness. And I think basically he realized it is contagious, but he doesn't know whether it's innately contagious or if it's something that we learn. So whether you learn to yawn from other people and then once you learn it.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've made an animal yawn before.
Right? Yeah.
Talking about yawning is making us up.
I know. That's what he just did. And when I was reading the article, I started yawning uncontrollably. I read this whole article about yawning science
the
whole time. I'm like,
I'll yawn the whole time.
I couldn't stop yawning. It was pretty funny. Oh my goodness. Oh, Pam, that's funny. A toddler treadmill for Chelsea. That's cute. You could get her also, my friend whose son has a lot of energy. They got him a little trampoline, not like a big outdoor one, but a little trampoline that you use like in the house that, some people do like aerobics and stuff on them, but he just goes over and bounces on the trampoline whenever he wants to. It's great. Wow, you can't yawn properly? I feel really bad for you. It must be very unsatisfying to not be able to have a complete yawn. Right, Dictel, replication crisis. Can you get one turtle to make another yawn? I don't know, turtles. He already has a trampoline. I know. Do reptiles yawn? No, that is the question. I gotta find that article. It was pretty cool.
I'm trying to think about reptiles and yawning. I don't know if they do. I've seen.
My nose is sniffly again. It's better than it was. Here it is. So the thing here, I'm gonna yawn because there's a picture of a guy yawning at the top of this article. Talking about yawning is funny. Yeah, the article is titled "Another Replication Crisis? Yawn." Aristotle believed it. Scientists proved it. A new study hints that decades worth of research on contagious yawning might be bogus. Now that's where it goes, where the people writing the article headline just go a little bit too far because I honestly, from the article, you guys can read it and yawn yourselves. But I honestly don't think this guy's research calls the entire field of research into question.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there definitely is, you know, the question of, is it just something we notice that people or animals yawn more? Do we notice the yawning more after we've yawned? Would we notice a yawn if we hadn't already yawned? You know, so there are kind of confirmation biases that might be present in our thinking. It's good to approach things like yawning and contagiousness of yawning. Thanks a lot, Blair.
You're doing it. You said the word yawn like 50 times.
I know. I can't do it. Oh my God. It's good to approach these things scientifically. Oh my
I'm
God.
asleep
I love
now.
this. I know. Oh, I'm so that is cracking me up. Yawning is cracking me up. All right. On this yawning note,
It's bedtime.
bedtime. Pam and her energy and her energetic child. It's morning for them right now. They're up. They're out.
Mhm.
Her child is bouncing on the trampoline wildly. I am going to go yawn. Put myself to slumber. Because that's what I like to do. I love to sleep these days. It's winter and we haven't gotten yet to spring. We haven't had the daylight savings time, which is going to make me so tired.
Yep.
Even more tired than I am right now. And we have it's afternoon. Oh, it's afternoon. Still that crazy afternoon energy. Child bouncing on the trampoline. I know what things are happening. All right, you guys. Oh, you found that Guardian article. Improbable tortoise. How long ago was that? 2011. Improbable yawns. Maybe I'll read this article about tortoise yawns as I go to bed. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for another show. I had a lot of fun tonight. I hope you did too. Remember, science is the new rock and roll. Yeah. I'm glad you guys check it out with us every week. Rock on! Science on! That's right. You rock out there, Blair. Thanks for a great show, Blair.
Thank you. So
You're
excited
welcome.
to spend my International Women's Day with you.
And we are international women.
Yeah,
of
we are.
mystery,
Yeah.
of science. All right. Have a really great week. Everyone out there, have a great week. And we will see you next Wednesday. Take care.